Disney and guided fishing. Two things that don't exactly seem natural together. I mean, when you think of Disney World, your mind usually goes to long lines, crying children, stressed out parents, and empty bank accounts, not largemouth bass. But believe it or not, guided fishing at Disney is a thing, and like all things Disney, there is some magic with a hint of disappointment. If you've ever been to Florida's House of Mouse, you've probably noticed the property is absolutely loaded with water. This is Central Florida after all. And if you're into fishing like me, you can't look at those lakes without asking yourself, I bet that thing's full of fish. How big do you think they get? What kind of fish are even in here? Do I have to buy a lightning lane just to look at the shoreline? Before you know it, those questions are occupying your thoughts for the rest of the day. Well, curiosity finally got the best of us. On our recent Disney trip, my father-in-law booked a 2-hour excursion on the lakes right next to Magic Kingdom. Our guide met us right outside our rooms at the Polynesian Resort in the early afternoon. Our vessel for the day was a tracker pontoon, and our target fish was largemouth bass, aka the ditch pickle. Now, I do have one criticism here. Disney usually does such an incredible job when it comes to the details, but when it came to the fishing gear, let's just say they left a lot to be desired. The equipment we were handed was definitely not in the greatest condition. It could have used a good cleaning, and a little grease seriously needed to be applied to the internal parts of the reel. Right after landing one of his many fish, my brother-in-law looked down at his setup and said, I think this thing is on its last ball bearing. But hey, despite the crunchy reels, the weather was absolutely perfect for Central Florida in early June. It was in the lower 80s with a nice breeze, and most importantly, the dew point was in the 50s. If you know Florida, you know that is a literal miracle. Now, we definitely have largemouths back at home in Nebraska, but our climate makes it a lot harder for them to grow into the absolute toads you find in the South. Plus, these Disney waters are completely private. Aside from these guided tours, they get zero fishing pressure. It's strictly catch and release. In our minds, the probability of hooking into something massive was higher than Florida Man. Our guide took us to the first of 3 spots, dropped the power pole, and the game was on. For the entire 2 hours, our setup was dead simple. A live shiner on a 2/0 circle hook. That's it. No weights, no bobbers, nothing fancy. We just let the shiner swim and let nature take its course. And it didn't take long for nature to show off. These hungry bucket mouths started attacking right away. We were pulling them out one after the other. But then things got a little Alfred Hitchcockian. I was about to cast, got distracted talking to the camera, and left my bait dangling just under the surface at the end of my pole. Out of nowhere, a bird swooped in and literally snatched the shiner right off my hook in midair. Our guide didn't even blink. He told us it's completely normal and happens all the time. Apparently, the local Disney wildlife has evolved to view fishermen as a free buffet. He even mentioned he occasionally has to untangle overzealous birds that get hooked up. He described it as a loud, feathery, and flappy event, but easily fixed by throwing a towel over the bird's head, removing the hook, and then unceremoniously yeeting the bird back to the sky. For the rest of the trip, birds were stalking our boat like feathered bounty hunters. But let's get back to the bass. We noticed something strange about them pretty quickly. These fish had massive trophy-sized heads, but their bodies were hilariously small in comparison. These bros have definitely been skipping leg day. We asked our guide about it, and he explained that the lake's ecosystem is completely out of whack. There's a massive overpopulation of bass, but barely any small forage fish for them to eat. Food is scarce. Because it's strictly catch and release, none of the bass are harvested, creating a highly competitive, homogeneous population. Basically, you're catching senior citizen bass that are old and wise, but are also very lean and mean. Either way, I had an absolute blast. In 2 hours, I stopped counting after landing about 20. My father-in-law and brother-in-law caught way more than I did, mostly because I was busy filming the footage you're seeing right now. We didn't measure any of the fish, but I'd estimate they were consistently between 15 to 20-ish inches. And it was hard to get an exact weight because of how skinny they were, but I'd guess they were anywhere in the 2.5, maybe up to the 4-pound range. Overall, this was a great experience for the price. In fact, it was my favorite part of my entire Disney experience during the trip. If you want to try it, I highly recommend booking as early as you can. We booked a little over a week before we left, and we could only get the 1:30 p.m. slot. And we lucked out with the weather, but it could have easily been a normal Florida afternoon in the summer. You know, hot, dank, damp. So, if you plan ahead, snagging a morning or evening slot is definitely the safer bet.